Alright, let's do Gaddafi. I have to admit, he is one of my all-time favourite dictators. And I'm basing it purely on the man's sense of style, and don't worry, we will get to that. So Mr. Gaddafi here was the dictator of Libya from 1979 to 2011 when he was removed, originally committing to Arab nationalism and Arab socialism, and he was removed specifically by NATO, and it was revealed in some leaked emails in 2016 of a certain Clinton. NATO did it to prevent Gaddafi from founding an African central bank with its own gold-backed currency, which would have challenged the power of the US dollar. It would have also freed it from the IMF and the French African franc. We came, we saw, he died, which was the phrase that certain Clinton said. And since then, Libya has become a failed state that now has slavery. So let's talk about some of the stuff that he did. It's been initially claimed by rebel officials who took over the country that Gaddafi is responsible for about 50,000 dead. But that number has been revised down and down and down. And I'm finding it extremely difficult to find an official number, with the lowest number being around 4,000. Plus, allegedly, 270 for the Lockerbie bombing. Not exactly a raving lunatic Joseph Stalin kind of character. I'd also like to mention that this rather uninspiring green square behind me was the flag of Libya under Gaddafi. Now let's talk about some of the good things that Gaddafi did. Prior to him being overthrown, Libya actually had the highest Human Development Index in all of Africa. Electricity bills were non-existent in Libya. It was free for all citizens. There was no interest rates on loans from Libyan banks, because they were all state-owned. Houses were considered a human right in Libya, with Gaddafi actually vowing at one point that his parents would not get a house until every Libyan had a home, with Gaddafi, his wife and his mother all living in a tent. All newlyweds in Libya were given $50,000 from the government to buy a house, to help them start up a family. Education and medical treatments were free. If Libyans fancied doing a Thanos and taking a peaceful life in the career of farming, they would receive farming land, a house, equipment, seeds and livestock, all for free to kickstart their careers. And if Libyans could not get the education or medical treatment that they needed, the government would give them money so that they could go abroad, getting $2,300 a month for accommodation and car allowance. If you wanted to buy a car, the government would subsidise 50% of the cost. The country had no external debt, based, and its reserves amounted to around $150 billion, which were frozen globally. And probably my favourite thing that he did, he distributed the oil wealth to the citizens. A portion of all sales of Libyan oil were credited directly to the bank accounts of all Libyan citizens, distributing the wealth to the people. So in a way, he did an Augustus Caesar, only instead of going on various military crusades and sharing the wealth from those crusades with the people, it was oil wealth. One of the only socialists who actually did a socialist policy. And he also had the Great Man-Made River, a network of pipes that supplied fresh water across the whole of the country, which of course was mostly desert. Now then, let's get on to the man's style. And straight off the bat, I'm going to suggest that he was definitely more with it as a younger man, compared to when he was older. Although I do think it's inevitable that once you've been an Arab socialist dictator for a certain amount of time, it's inevitable you're going to dress like a DFS couch. I personally think he was just very eccentric, smashing boundaries of how to dress as a dictator. There is no doubt about it that he was a little bit crazy, but he wasn't crazy to the point where he became a danger to the population. Wasn't exactly sending hundreds of thousands of his own people to the chambers. I'll tell you what, this is my favourite picture of him. The Virgin Democrat versus the Chad dictator. You could just hear this guy's inner thoughts just saying to himself, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh. Oh, Gaddafi, you were taken too soon. I don't even know what that's supposed to be, but I rate it. The man had drip. So there you have it, Colonel Gaddafi. You versus the guy she told you not to worry about.